I have 56 terabytes of combined storage. Of that, all of my critical files fit on about 10 gigabytes. Today, we'll discuss my system behind that and how I would set it up if all I had was 4 terabytes. This is Uncluttered Tech. My name's Jason, and welcome to the channel. Most people don't have a storage problem. They have an organization problem. I know that's what happened to me. After 25 years in IT, I've seen data loss, data corruption, and pretty much any situation about file loss. I'm here to talk to you about what my system is today to help reduce the risk of file loss, make finding files easy and seamless. I have a 3-tier storage system. My main drive is where all my everyday files live. These are current projects, files I need daily, and anything that I need to access extremely quickly. My second tier is what I refer to as my fast NAS, is where I store the majority of my media, photos, videos, and music files. These are my personal files. Then I have what I call my slow NAS, which is my cold storage, archives, and any additional media that I need that take up more space than what I have on my fast NAS. So it's a 1, 2, 3 storage system. What I found works best is having everything in a single folder tree, one flat main folder, where every subfolder is prefixed. I use common prefixes, so per-admin is for all files to do with general day-to-day stuff in my personal life. For business files, I store them in the prefix BUS dash and then content production. So anything to do with my blog or my YouTube channel goes into that folder. Now, obviously within those, depending on how many files I have and what type of files I have, I will have a number of subfolders within each principal folder, but I tend to keep those as little as possible. Try not to keep more than 2, maximum 3 storage levels. For the main folder tree, I try and also have that as minimal as possible. What's worked best is between 12 and 14. This lets me look at a glance at the folder structure and be able to quickly identify where those files should go. If it's buried in subfolders or there's too many levels to go through, you're going to end up putting the file wherever, and it's quickly going to become an unorganized mess. And when you do get around to organizing it, then you're going to spend more time trying to figure out where things go than actually cleaning things up and getting things organized. So I think if you set up the folder structure properly from the start, it's going to take much less time for you to quickly sort out where a new file is supposed to go and be able to find and retrieve files in the future. And to the same effect, for those of you who prefer searching for files using whatever search index tool you use, whether it's Spotlight on Mac or the Windows search bar on Windows, having a clear, easily defined, searchable folder structure is going to make your searching a lot easier as well. Because indexing is only as good as how the files are stored. If you don't have a good naming scheme, if you don't have a good folder structure, even with searching, you're still going to have trouble if it's not clearly defined. Whichever way you prefer to find your files, having a proper folder structure will be helpful. Another thing with my folder structure is it's repeatable. What I mean by that is whether it's in my note-taking application or my folder structure, it's carryovered. Another thing that you have to keep in mind too is if you've started using AI, they perform better if the folder structure you've set up is clear and is clearly defined. One thing that I've realized over the years, and this is kind of part of what I've struggled with in my minimalism journey, is I tended initially to keep everything. I always thought I might need this file again in the future, or what happens if X worst case scenario were to happen. There's always going to be files you're going to keep. But for the most part, what I've realized is most of the files I don't need. Keeping them makes it harder for me to find the files that I actually need. I've stuck to this approach and it's worked for me pretty well. For financial information, taxes, receipts, banking information, that kind of thing, being in Canada, I stick to the minimum tax retention, which is 7 years. Personally, I keep 8 just to be on the safe side. Anything older than that is archived. With everything else, either it's on my everyday storage, or if it's media, it's on my media server, or it's gone. If I can get rid of it, I will. For photos, specifically, we're talking family memories, personal photos, I would only keep the best of the batch. So you went on a camping trip with your family the previous weekend, you took 100 photos. Take the time to sort through those 100. You don't have to edit anything, but just pick, say, the top 10 and keep those. One trick that I use is usually your camera or your photo app will allow you to pick a favorite. So what I'll do is as soon as I finish taking the photos, I'll quickly, it takes less than a minute, pick out which 2 or 3 are my favorite. Then when I have a bit more time, I'll go through them and really determine which 5 to 10 that I'm going to keep. The point isn't to get rid of everything and keep one. It's really to only keep the best ones. And trust me, you'll thank me later once you realize how much less photos you keep. A good, reasonable selection of your best photos is going to be much more memorable than keeping everything and having to sort through dozens of photos. What I've started doing, this being my 4th video, is I've kept everything, but my plan moving forward is once the video has been up for, I'm thinking about 6 months, I'm going to do a cull and only keep the final version of the raw footage. Now, yes, that's going to be a bigger file size than if I were to just pull the video off of YouTube, but I want to have at least one copy of the raw footage just in case I ever want to pull clips from it in the future. The plan is to stay with my system for at least the next 3 to 4 years. I think with a proper file management and folder organization system in place, I'll be able to achieve that much easier than if I were to just try and keep everything. What I've done is I apply the same techniques I did for decluttering my apartment, and that is I set up 3 folders: keep, not sure, and toss or discard. I'll look through my downloads folder, let's say once a week, and anything that I know I want to keep, I'll put in the keep folder. Anything I'm not sure about, I think I might want to refer to it later, or I might want to summarize it or something, I'll put in not sure. And anything I'm sure I want to get rid of, I'll put it in the discard or just immediately to the recycle bin or the trash. This helps me keep my file management a lot simpler, and I don't need to go looking around for everything. One additional tip: don't use your desktop as your dumping ground. I know it's like the easiest thing to do is to put everything on your desktop. In my experience, all that does is just make things way too cluttered. I know for me, over the course of my decluttering journey, I found that getting stuff off the desktop and into a single inbox style folder, like what I use the downloads folder for, and then clearing it out once a week is a lot easier than spending day upon day looking at the desktop, seeing dozens of folders and files all scattered about. If my 40 terabyte array were to die tomorrow, the first thing I would stop doing is keeping the raw footage. Once a video is published, YouTube has a compressed copy of your video. It might not be perfect, but it's good enough that you can download a copy of it and use some of the clips from that. But if you're just getting started out and you don't have the storage, don't think it's an absolute necessity to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a huge storage array before you've built up your channel to a point where you really find a use case for keeping those files. A good thing to remember is only keep files that you will need at some point in the future, not that you think you might need them. So if I were redoing my setup and I only had 4 terabytes of storage, I would use the same folder structure, just with tighter rules. And what I mean by that is I wouldn't keep any raw footage. I would only keep the most basic files that I will need. If it's a might, it goes out in the trash. I know it's hard to imagine just getting rid of all these files. Look at it as the less files you have, the easier it is to find the files that you need when you need to. Don't keep something because you might need it, because odds are you won't. It's like cleaning your house. The bigger the house, the more time you have to spend cleaning it up. The smaller the house, the less. Same thing for files. If you have less files to manage, you spend less time sorting through them. The way I do my cleanups is every 3 months, I take some time to go through the current year's files, see if there's anything that I can get rid of. Your final archive cleanup will likely take about an hour. It will cover the previous year, and then you're good. You just need to maintain the file system. And it's a lot easier to maintain a file system 1 year at a time than if you're trying to keep all your files together in one bucket and sort through that time and time again. In conclusion, you don't need more storage. You need a system. Build it once, maintain it a couple of times a year, and stop thinking about it. Drop your folder structure in the comments below. I'd love to see how you manage your files. Like and subscribe if you find this kind of no-fluff content useful.